The following podcast was brought to you by the members of the Casino Skunk Secret Society. For just $1 a month, you can unlock every audio and video episode available instantly. And don't worry about any commitments. You can quit at any time. So for just $1, you can download every single episode and then bounce out. Just head to patreon.com/casinoskunk. Welcome to the Casino Skunk Secret Society. I am Ralph, and today we are talking about Chapter 15 of The Mandalorian, called The Believer. And with me today is Kevin Kittridge from All Right, Let's Do a Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ralph, on your podcast
So official.
That you host that is yours and not
weird.
Mine at all.
It's weird. Like I don't like
It's a little
doing
different.
I don't like doing the intro because we never do an intro. Like we
Right.
just I hit record as soon as we start going, and then just slip into it. So it's weird. It feels too official. I don't like it. I really don't.
Well,
like
we gotta set boundaries. This is your house, and I'm just hanging out in here for a little bit.
Sure. But I mean, we're talking about. Well, first of all, I want to thank you because you were supposed to be on. You were supposed to be on 2 weeks ago. And you graciously postponed the 2 weeks so I can get James in on the show. Because I knew that
It makes a lot of sense because because James is apparently more knowledgeable in the extended universe. Are we calling that the extended universe? I guess it's canon. All that stuff that she's from.
It's canon, but it's definitely it's different stuff. I would say extended universe. It's definitely not from the movies. And so
okay, speaking of which, for anybody who doesn't know me, which is many people, I'm just a movies guy.
Right.
Except for obviously The Mandalorian. I'll watch Obi-Wan Kenobi. I will be excited to see that. I've never watched any of the cartoons. Well, I watched, I've had samples of the cartoons from time to time, but I never really got into them.
Right. So it kind of made, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to need someone, because I didn't know what the episode was going to be like, and I knew I would have questions. And I'm sure you had questions too, and I don't think I would have been the guy to answer them for you.
Sure.
So you got the penultimate episode, which is called The Believer. And what'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every episode, even in the first season. Like when people were thinking, where's this going? Why are we watching this? I thought it was cool just to see a day in the life of him on his journey. So I really liked Chapter 15. I was not let down by anything except for, and I know my girlfriend and a lot of people are going to be disappointed, there was zero Baby Yoda in it.
Yeah. This is the first episode, right?
I think so. I can't think of any other episode that had zero Grogu.
Yeah, because by the time they got to the end of the episode and they showed Moff Gideon's cruiser, I'm like, okay, now we're going to see Baby Yoda because we have an all episode. And then they didn't. And that's weird.
It is weird. I mean, I'm personally fine with it, but I know, like I say, my girlfriend calls this the Baby Yoda show. And when the credits hit, she's going to go furious tonight when we watch it together.
Yeah, it's funny that immediately after the last episode, people were already like, what's happening to the baby? We need to find out. And they're not going to know for another week. So it's like 2 weeks of worrying about the baby being handcuffed in tiny little handcuffs. But I thought that was interesting, and it was kind of cool, and I'm totally fine with it too.
Well, in regards to what's happening to Baby Yoda off screen that we can't see, I saw a quote, and I hope it's true. There's so much BS on the internet these days, but I think this is true. I think it was from an interview where Giancarlo Esposito,
right,
who plays the big bad dude,
mm-hmm.
He said he was texting with his two daughters, And they were like, "You better not be mean to Baby Yoda. You better be nice to him." And he said, "I am gonna squish his little head."
Wow. I like it. I've seen interviews with him. He seems like a real fun guy, so I can see him doing that. Maybe not so much like he's method, but I feel like he's really relishing in this role. I noticed that he did a couple of interviews where he gets kind of sort of sinister and very, very evil. So I think he's enjoying playing this character. But yeah, we don't know what he's doing, and they're leaving us plenty of time to anguish over it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're trying to take the blood from the baby to give it to a body that has been cloned. We don't know who that body is yet. Assuming Palpatine or possibly the rejected Palpatine Snoke, maybe, are my thoughts. But yeah, it's I thought it was a really good episode, and I'm not going to say I'm not a fan of Bill Burr. I am not familiar enough with Bill Burr outside of Star Wars and one episode of SNL. And I don't think he's my kind of comedian. Do you have any
I know
thoughts
what
on
you
him?
mean. And I do like watching him do stand up.
Mm-hmm.
There are times that he will say things that I think are kind of stupid. Right. And I disagree with. I still like his presentation. I disagree with him a lot. Mm-hmm. I think he's a great actor. I think he's very good in this, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I did not like him in the first season. I loved him in this episode. I thought he did a fantastic job in this episode. Granted, he's the only person that you really see because everyone's got helmets or something on. And Gina Carano's acting is getting worse, I think. But I thought he was really great.
Along those lines, I mean, I was going to get to this a little bit later, but when he's driving the truck, I mean, I get it. Would you need a couple of minutes to take the mask off or take the helmet off? But for the when they ride up to the Imperials, I'm like, put your helmet on, dude. What are you doing? Nobody else here is without their helmet except you. And I guess, it's a way for us as the viewer to see our character and also to not get him mixed up with the Mandalorian.
Right. For me, I liked him without the helmet. I feel like what it showed was that this isn't a regular Imperial facility. And I think he recognizes that. With space pirates and stuff, it almost made it feel like that this outpost was just trying to survive. And he acknowledged that and was like, oh, I don't need to conform to Imperial sort of rank. I can kind of let loose a little bit and be a little more casual. There's that. But, I mean, if you're doing a very secret mission and are trying to be secret and not be seen, you put the helmet on. Right. Speaking of helmets, we get the Mandalorian outside of his costume for the first time in the whole series. And not only that, he takes off the helmet. This is the first time in the show that we've seen him take off his helmet in front of somebody else. Last time he did it was in front of IG-88, so it didn't really matter. Or IG-11, I mean. So it was like a big moment for him, and I liked it a lot. I feel like if Bill Burr didn't nail his speech about you're just a person and everybody's just out here trying to survive, like if he didn't nail that speech, it wouldn't feel as big of a deal when he took his helmet off, because you understand the lengths he's going to go to save Grogu.
Sure.
And it's a big moment for him.
Yeah, I mean, his speech was, listen, we all have our ideals, we all have the way we live our lives, but when it comes down to it, if you really need to, you're gonna break your own rules.
Right.
It's like me. I'm a vegetarian, but if I was stuck on a desert island with me and a cute little pig, before long, I'm having bacon.
Right. Exactly. And I like that.
I would prefer not to.
Right. Go find me some truffles. But it's like I feel like I feel like the Bill Burr did a fantastic job. I really I'm like, dude, this guy, I want his action figure now. Like, he was so likable. Even from the get-go, when he was on that junk planet, like taking scrap out of TIE fighters and stuff. And he didn't trust her when she said, okay, you're free, you're coming with me. Like, he was content doing his work instead of trusting her. And so it really did show that he's pretty much out there for himself. Like, he doesn't, like, he's in this situation, he's trapped on this planet, he's an inmate, and he's like, I don't trust anybody. So he doesn't want to go with her. And then for him to kind of slowly become part of the team and open himself up to the Mandalorian and stuff, I thought it was a really good story arc. And, you know, you have 1 minute where he's fighting pirates and getting chased down by pirates and, you know, in the Imperial truck. And then at the end of the episode, he's essentially joining their plight and destroys the Imperial base. I thought that was a really cool story arc, and it didn't feel like heavy-handed. You know,
sure,
that's good stuff. Yeah, I can't say enough about that dude. I was like, oh my god, and I'm kind of glad I don't know him really outside of the Mandalorian, because I feel like if I followed his like comedian, like his comedy career and stuff, I wouldn't be able to shake that from watching a character.
Right.
And I don't mind the Boston accent in Star Wars.
It's like a Doctor Who when the Ninth Doctor shows up and Rose is like, hey, why do you sound like you're from the North? You got a Northern accent. And he says, lots of planets have a North.
That's good. I like it.
Yeah. He's inmate 34667. Does that mean anything, Ralph? Somebody figure it out?
34667. It probably spells something on a calculator. Those are all like those numbers you use to spell stuff out on calculators. I have no idea. I don't know. 34667. No.
And so you were talking about the pirates, and I'm trying to figure out why they're called pirates, because pirates go to people and take their stuff and leave it so they can have it or sell it. These pirates, in parentheses, or in quotes, pirates, they're just trying to defeat the Empire. And as they're on their fight, you know, they're having a fun fight against these pirates. Uh-huh. The Mandalorian's fighting them. And I'm thinking, these are not necessarily bad guys. These are people trying to take down the Empire for whatever reason. I don't know the reason. I don't know these people. But I'm not sure we should hate them. But I wrote down, as it was happening, as this fight was going on, they have to blow that stuff up before they go. That's in my notes.
Oh, okay. So you nailed that one. I think they just called them pirates. They called them pirates at the beginning of the chase, which I said the same thing. I'm like, oh, it's pirates. And then halfway through, they say something to the effect, oh, they're not trying to steal it. They're trying to blow it up. But I don't know if they still call them pirates after that. But they are definitely saboteurs.
My girlfriend likes to watch TV and movies with subtitles.
Right.
And they are referred to as pirates throughout.
Okay. All right.
But in that fight, it's funny because the Mandalorian is fighting these pirates, and he realizes that this armor is not quite the same as his Beskar.
Right. He can't just stand there in front of blaster bolts.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny is when he put that armor on, even though it looks completely different, he still had the walk.
And I was looking for that, and I saw it.
It was perfect. I don't know how you do that. I'm assuming if you're in that armor for 14 chapters already, that you kind of get used to how to move around in it. But I loved it. I loved it, and I love that he was the sacrifice he made to do that, to put on the other armor and not just go in. I thought that was good stuff too. I thought it was great. I liked everything about it. The action scene on the truck was great. Reminded me of Indiana Jones. I don't know if they're shooting that stuff in that volume or if they're doing something on location, but it looks pretty real. It looks like a real location.
During that fight specifically, I was just thinking about Hollywood fights and how difficult it has to be to choreograph a fight these days that hasn't been seen 1,000 times before.
And it had the feel of Indiana Jones, but it felt different.
Yeah.
And even it feels different than the train heist in Solo. I don't know how I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it. I liked the skiffs flying around. It felt like a mix between a train heist and a pirate movie. I like the guys getting tossed around down into the tires and stuff. I want to say this is only like the third vehicle in Star Wars with wheels. The first one was in Attack of the Clones. The clone troopers had those big tanks with the big wheels, and then I think they show up again in Rogue One, I think. But yeah, you don't get to see a lot of wheeled vehicles in Star Wars. And so that's the kind of a fun thing to be able to show them throwing, aliens and stuff down into the wheel wells. And then a lot of fun with thermal detonators too. Like that was enjoyable.
You mentioned a lot of people getting thrown off, and there's a lot of throwing and people getting thrown and screaming to their death.
Yeah.
And it hit me. They didn't use the Wilhelm scream at all.
Right.
And I think I'm done with the Wilhelm scream. I don't think I have to hear it anymore.
I want to say that The Last Jedi was the first Star Wars movie not to use it. And I don't think they've used it since. I've heard Lucasfilm talk about they're using a new scream that's been in everything starting with The Last Jedi. And people are trying to figure out where they put it in the movies and the shows. But that's apparently funny. It's a scream or a yell of George Lucas in some behind the scenes footage. So they've replaced the Wilhelm.
They caught him naturally giving a scream of joy or excitement or something, and they altered it. Or I mean, it can't be. He can't have been screaming in pain.
No, I don't think he was screaming in pain. I think he was giving direction, maybe. And he's like, okay, you're running over here. You fall down. And you do this. And then bang, bang. So they found some yell or scream of him in behind the scenes footage and have been putting that in the movies and TV shows since The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is the first movie without the Wilhelm. So the Wilhelm's done. We were watching.
That's funny.
Me and Stevie were watching. Oh, shit. What was it? We just watched it. But it was not Star Trek? No. Crap. They used the Wilhelm scream twice in the movie. It might have been what have I been watching lately? I want to say it was a Star Trek. I could be wrong. Maybe it was a J.J. Abrams Star Trek. Oh man, I don't remember. I'm trying to think of movies I've been watching lately, and I feel like
I might have seen it because I think I remember thinking, oh, there it is again at some point in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
like in the same movie.
Yeah, I was. Okay, hold on. It's coming to me because it was a big deal. It was like a main character. They used it for a main character. It was a Star Trek. It was Nemesis.
They used it twice in Nemesis, huh?
I think so. Was it Nemesis? Oh man, dude, I watched them all so closely back to back. So it was a main character. It was no. I know what it is. It was. You didn't see this movie, probably. It was The Hobbit, the Desolation of Smaug, because they used it early on in a battle scene. Fine, that's good. But later on, there's a main character who's a dwarf who was thought to have been missing, and they throw him down into a pit. And this is a main character, and they used it for him. And
That's
was
weird.
Nuts. But I think I did hear it in Nemesis also. I did not care for Nemesis. If anyone wants to know my thoughts on Star Trek, I do not.
Nemesis is not very good. Listen, this is a bit of a sidetrack, but I
fine.
remember when they were getting ready to make it, and Jonathan Frakes was like, if this is the last one, it's got to be a big, badass, huge space battle blowout, and it definitely wasn't.
It was just noise.
Insurrection, which I think you missed.
I
right?
missed
You
it.
didn't see that yet?
I skipped over it. I didn't know I'd skipped over it.
Insurrection is a good movie. It's like a really long episode, but it's good. It's not fantastic, but it's good.
Can I tell you one thing, though? I
Sure.
fucking love Star Trek Beyond. I thought that movie was
It
awesome.
was a lot of fun. I loved it right from the beginning when Kirk is at that tribunal and they're all like, they're going to do this stuff. They're terrible people. And Kirk goes, I don't think that's true. And it made me laugh because that's exactly how I would have done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's true.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So Star Trek Insurrection, it's like the last 45 minutes is nothing but noise and it's boring.
Or Nemesis.
Nemesis, that's right. I haven't seen Insurrection. But with this show, like you said, you've seen sort of train heists a million times, but they're able to keep it interesting. And I loved it. I loved it. I loved all the action in this episode. The scene where after the Mandalorian is able to get the data from the computer, from the kiosk, and the Imperial officer comes up and asks them to take a seat with them and have a drink. Like, all of that stuff was amazing.
It was really good because that happens sometimes in movies where the good guys, so they're sitting down and they're talking about the terrible things that they've done and yada yada, and all Bill Burr has to do is say like, "Yeah, we did it. We beat those jerks. We're the best. We're the Empire."
Yeah,
and they're home free.
yeah.
And you watch him self-destruct in that moment, and it's like, oh, but he's doing it for the right reason, and well, yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
but before that,
you could just see him seething. Okay, before.
Yeah, it's great. Before, listen, we got to go take care of those TPS reports. It's such a strange
I don't like it.
impact. I'm not sure why.
How
those worlds crossed.
I don't like it. Is he literally from Boston? Like, does he know about Office Space? It's so. I don't like it.
Well, this is a long time ago. Maybe Office Space got it handed down to them.
Sure. It was probably the only thing that made me groan in the episode. And I'm just going to pretend like it didn't happen. It was so off-putting.
But it does segue to that very uncomfortable conversation. It was great, that whole scene.
Yeah, and then the whole part where he's talking about calling him Brown Eyes, I really liked that. I thought it was funny that he was kind of treating the Mandalorian like if he was kind of a simpleton, or I guess like hard of hearing. But the poor Mandalorian who wants nothing more than to put his helmet back on. He's just like so uncomfortable being so exposed, and he's just so exposed. And then you have Bill Burr who is just seething. You can just see him, just his eyes just glaring, just so bad. Like when he shot the Imperial officer, I was kind of happy because I was like, yeah, fuck these guys, you know?
Right.
So that made me happy. And I'm like, they'll get out of it. Sure, the Mandalorian doesn't have his armor and jetpack and, whistling birds and stuff, but I was like, I'm all for this. Just take these dudes out. And they did. And then that made me happen. I like that they kicked open the window and they were crawling on the outside of the dam, which as soon as they crawled out, I just turned to Steve and said, I don't care. Because it reminded me of The Fugitive, and that made me happy.
Oh, sure.
But that whole sequence where they're crawling out of the windows, and the stormtroopers are crawling out of the windows, and the ladies are picking them off, just boom, boom, boom. Like, that was so much fun. And the one stormtrooper sticks his hand out the window to shoot him, and the Mandalorian just kicks the gun out of his hand and knocks him out. All that stuff was fun. And
that was another spot where there was a lot of people being thrown out of the windows, like a lot of people falling and falling and falling. No Wilhelm. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, this is the second episode where we just like are dispatching stormtroopers left and right, which is fine. That's part of Star Wars, but man, they were really just like getting rid of everybody. But that whole sequence was fun. Then they make their way to the roof, and then the Slave One shows up, which was awesome. Dude, I've never been the biggest Boba Fett fan, but the Slave One's a cool ship. And it was neat for the first time to see inside the Slave One while it's going vertical from a horizontal position, where the whole room is shifting around behind them like in a pod. That was awesome. I'm like, okay, that is cool. Because clearly the Slave One, we've seen the seats, how the seats work from Episode 2 and Empire Strikes Back. But we've never seen the seats as it's transitioning from horizontal to vertical. And I just thought that was really cool seeing that. Really cool design. The effect looked really good. I don't know if they built that set to do that. I can't imagine they would for the TV show. But yeah, and I got excited when the TIE fighter started chasing it. I really did. And he launched the seismic blast.
I thought that was a little bit of overkill. I'm surprised they didn't have any sort of shooting.
I know.
Battle.
I was expecting a dogfight too, and to use one of those seismic chargers just to take out 2 TIE fighters, like 2 just regular plain old TIE fighters. But it still was. It was cool because it reminded me, or it like kind of did something that we've seen before. And I'm sure if they didn't do it, people would have said, "Oh, he should have done the seismic chargers," but he could have turned around and fired on those TIE fighters.
That's what I was thinking, because I play the zombies. I like to shoot the zombies on Black Ops Cold War. Mm-hmm. And if you're lucky, you get a monkey bomb. A monkey bomb, you wind up this little toy monkey and you throw it, and all the zombies like gather around it. They're like, "What the hell is this monkey?" And then it blows up and it kills a bunch of them.
Right.
It's great when you get a monkey bomb. And a lot of times I'll be like, "Should I use this monkey bomb? No, I might need that later." So I just keep shooting. And that's how I feel with the satellite bomb there. I feel like he could use that later, but he didn't.
He's probably got more.
Cool.
I know in Episode 2, they fire off like 3 of them from the Slave One. So he's probably got more in there. I'm assuming.
So Boba Fett looks awesome.
Yeah, he got a paint job.
Nice and shiny. Yeah. He looks really good. And so we see him. Okay, Boba Fett is back. He's Boba Fett. And then later, he's not wearing his mask. And I'm like, no. You got your stuff back. Be Boba Fett all the time. But you know what? He's not a straight up legit hardcore Mandalorian.
Right.
And we've only seen him a little bit in these other movies. Maybe he's been walking around with his mask on, with his helmet off half the time. Who knows?
Right.
So I can't get too deep into that.
And usually when we saw him in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, he's amongst mixed company, like whether he's with other bounty hunters or Darth Vader or Jabba's palace. So he probably wants to kind of keep a low profile and hide his identity. In this one, he's comfortable around these people and believes they're his friend. So he just feels more comfortable doing it. I hope when Bill Burr shows up again, that he calls the Mandalorian Brown Eyes, and everyone wants to know, why did you call him Brown Eyes? Because he'd be able to. He's the only person to see his face, which is cool. They let him go, which is nice. I was kind of hoping he'd come along on the adventure, but he's just out there living. So, yeah. I'm sure we'll see.
And the more he's with them, the more we see him, with them, the better chance is that he'll turn on him. So it's probably a good idea.
Right.
Because he turned on him before, didn't he, in that other episode?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he was the one that, like, yeah, they freed that guy, and then he kind of double-crossed the Mandalorian. Once the Mandalorian got the prisoner, the Twi'lek, out of the prison ship. But
he did blow up that stuff. He did be like, yeah, these guys gotta go.
Yeah, he just got to go back to the pirate town now and say, hey, listen, I'm the one that blew up the Imperial base. And he'll be a king there. I'm sure season 3, they'll show up on that planet for some reason they need him, and he's going to just be living it up like a king. And they're gonna drag him away.
So they refer to the ISB. What does that stand for? The Imperial something something.
I do not know. But that's the thing. I don't know too many things. It's probably some reference that's in a video game. I'm not sure what the ISB is. What were they referring to it as? Like, what was the context of it?
I don't remember. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to see if I can do Star Wars ISB.
Was it like a ISB, you said? Was that like a database of some kind? Like an Imperial something?
Yeah. It was Imperial for sure.
I don't know.
Okay, so it takes me to a chart. It says rank insignia of the Galactic Empire, and there's a list for the Navy rank, the Army rank, and the ISB rank, and I don't know what the ISB means. Oh, Imperial Security Bureau.
Got it. Nice.
Imperial Security.
Sweet. Cool. Now I know. That's really cool. I'm glad it wasn't explained in the show. It's one of those things where you're like, I'm curious about that, and you're able to look it up and get the answers, but they don't have to like stop the show and put it on hold to explain what that means.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I kind of like about Star Wars is they just kind of throw this stuff out there, and if you want to look into it, you can, but you don't have to. So
we know that the ISB are bad guys.
Yes.
That's all we really need to know.
Right. All right. Speaking of bad guys, what do you think? Okay. Here we go. Moff Gideon, the big bad of this season. Mandalorian has thrown down the gauntlet, sent him a hologram message directly to his bridge, brought it up, and he essentially did the Taken speech.
Yeah.
And he's coming after him hard with the Slave One, with Boba Fett and Cara Dune and Fennec. Maybe he'll get some other people. Maybe a Timothy Oliphant. Maybe not. I don't think Timothy Oliphant would really be able to do much without the armor. But is this just last episode? Do you think it's just going to be a straight up fight? Are we going to get a Darksaber versus the Beskar spear?
Well, I liked your theory. Was it your theory? I listened to your show from a week ago.
Yeah.
The other show that you do about the little ball.
Oh, right.
I like that. And in the same episode, I liked your theory about how George Lucas named Grogu. I think that totally makes sense. It's a total George Lucas name.
Yeah, I think so too. I could see that. I could see Dave Filoni sending a text to George Lucas, showing him a picture of Baby Yoda, and George Lucas sending something back. His name is Grogu, because apparently they've known since day one that's its name. So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of really, I do hope that we get to see the armor this season and that she turns the spear into a sword that he can use to fight the Darksaber. But yeah, if Baby Yoda senses the ball in the Mandalorian's pocket and Force pulls it out and either knocks out or puts a hole through Moff Gideon, it would be badass.
It would be pretty great.
But we'll see if people would be up for Baby Yoda killing, though.
I think Baby Yoda has done some terrible things to other life forms.
We saw Stormtroopers last week.
It's the Empire.
Right.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. I want to know who the Jedi is going to be that received Grogu's message. It could very well be a Last Jedi moment where the Jedi finally shows up, and maybe it is Luke. Who knows? And then the world goes, holy crap. Luke's going to be in The Mandalorian next season. Who knows?
I would lose my mind if it's Luke Skywalker.
And I heard you guys talking about alternate casting for Luke. I don't want it. I don't want anybody else to be Luke Skywalker.
But do you think Mark Hamill would be able to pull off? They'd have to de-age him. They'd have to de-age him and it'd have to look good. I know they had the de-aged Luke in The Rise of Skywalker.
Well, when is this supposed to be? Because this is decades after Jedi anyway, right?
No, it's 5 years.
This is only 5 years after Jedi?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, I don't know. I mean, dude, I love Luke Skywalker. I'm just going to accept whatever they do. Whoever he reaches out to is obviously not Ahsoka, because she told him to go talk to the stone. Because she's not really a Jedi.
Oh, and your co-host really had it on last week's show that I just listened to, where he mentioned, I think Ahsoka is going to be onto her own thing. Got her own show. Boom.
Right.
They were right.
Right. I don't have any other guesses on a Jedi who's living around this time. People say Ezra from Rebels, but is that really gonna knock anyone's socks off for a finale?
I mean, it can't be the last 10-second shot of that person showing up, because it would have to be mid-episode or something.
But if it is the last second shot teaser for season 3, it's got to be someone big. If it's Luke, I can see it being like Sebastian Stan as Luke, and it'll give us, 9 months to process that information. I have a feeling it's Luke, and think I'm fine with it. Listen, man, I trust the show. I really, especially this season. I think this season has been phenomenal. Just hope that it's done right. Maybe if it's Ghost Yoda, that would be awesome.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
But I feel like it's got to be someone big. It's got to be someone big. Ghost Obi-Wan, Ghost Anakin. I don't know. It's hard to recasting a Luke is tough.
I'd be good with Anakin, Ghost tough. Anakin.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. We'll see, dude. Only one more episode left.
Yeah.
By this time next week, we will know. That's crazy. I love it. I love it. I love it. I know there's no Star Wars movies.
I don't think.
Oh wait, yeah.
I'm sorry. I haven't listened to a whole bunch of any podcasts, so I don't know if you've gone over it. But at the very beginning, that chrome droid opening where the lights go over all the metal, that ident, at the beginning.
Oh,
Star Wars,
yeah.
And then
okay,
it's gorgeous.
I've never.
Every time I'm like, this is beautiful.
Yeah, we were watching it because we watched it today at like 6 a.m. So the sun wasn't out, so we got a nice sort of theater presentation in the dark. And this was the first time I told Stevie, I just turned to Stevie when that logo popped up, and I'm like, man, I love those Rebel flight helmets. That's what I said. It's cool, and it'll be cool to see that in front of all the different shows that they're doing. That, we're so used to the Fox logo, then Lucasfilm logo, then a long time ago in a galaxy far, far. We're so used to that. And now we have this new thing with this music coming up in the sort of the blue and red lightsabery lights flashing over the chrome helmets. It's going to be excited when Obi-Wan happens and we see that same thing at the beginning, because now it's our new signal that it's Star Wars. We have a new sort of prompt to be excited about. It gets me fired up every time. Like, it's like, here we go. It reminds me of the James Bond gun barrel sequence at the beginning of every movie. You're sitting down, you're ready to go on this new adventure, and the screen lights up with that dot moving across the screen, and then you see James Bond shoot at the camera, and the blood comes down. You're like, here we go. A brand new adventure with James Bond. This is turning into the new that, where you see the different masks. And I'm like, okay. And this was the first time I really noticed that it ends on the Mandalorian helmet.
I wonder if that changes
before it's a Star Wars. Yeah,
that'd be neat.
I don't like it for Obi-Wan if they have like a Vader helmet or something, or if it ends with, I don't know if you'd be able to put a person's face, but you can do a chrome version of like Obi-Wan's face, like a statue or something. But yeah, I really like that. I want that to be some sort of like screensaver, but like with like a ton more faces. Where, you know, they just go through every character mask.
Speaking of really kick-ass presentations, the Patty Jenkins video that came out yesterday where she's roller skating,
dude,
or rollerblading, I'm not sure. She goes up to the trunk of her car, opens it. She's telling us these stories about her dad as a jet fighter or whatever. She's changing clothes, takes off her skates, walks off towards an X-wing, putting on a flight suit.
Right.
I thought that was a pretty kick-ass moment and reveal.
Right. If I didn't know it was already for Star Wars and I saw that, I'd lose my mind. I would lose my mind. Because it doesn't really explain. Like, it needs to be seen cold. Like, oh my gosh. Because you know it's Patty Jenkins, and you're like, oh, she's badass already. Like, she's hauling ass on those skates. But then to see her put on that helmet, you're like, oh my God. Like, it's a Star Wars helmet. And then walking towards, we already saw all the planes on the landing strip and stuff. But then when it focuses and it's an X-Wing, it's like, oh my God. Dude, I cannot wait for that movie. Hopefully it's something that's been in pre-production during all the Wonder Woman delays. I'm hoping she's like well into this production, because I need this movie to come out ASAP.
Pretty great.
If I would only have one Star Wars thing of that whole entire presentation, it would be this. Like if they said, oh, we can only make one of these things now, I would say forget Lando, forget Ahsoka, forget Andor, all this, forget it.
What about Obi-Wan?
Forget Obi-Wan.
With Vader. Even with Anakin coming back?
Yeah, I would take this. Dude, I'm so pumped on that movie. I mean, I'm glad I'm getting all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, but this is like a huge deal. Like, I love Rogue Squadron. I don't know if they're going to have Wedge in the movie, because Wedge was the leader of Rogue Squadron back during the dark times when we only had novels to read and comic books to read. So I'm fired up. I think Patty Jenkins is an awesome director, and I know she's going to nail it. So the only thing that I pray doesn't happen is Hans Zimmer doing a Star Wars score. I can't.
Oh, because he did Wonder Woman.
He did the latest Wonder Woman. So I'm gonna need not Hans Zimmer to be in this movie. For the love of God.
We'll see.
I know. I'm so anxious. Yeah. A lot of Star Wars coming up, but that's all way in the future. They haven't even started shooting Obi-Wan. And so we've got to relish this next week with the finale of Mandalorian Season 2.
Who's your guest next week?
My guest next week will be comic book icon Michael Allred.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mike has constructed his own Beskar Mandalorian outfit from head to toe. He has gotten a Grogu posable. No, it was whatever the high-end Baby Yoda is. He got that, and then jerry-rigged it so it could be posable. But if you go to Mike Allred MD, if you go to his Instagram, he's got pictures of him in full Mandalorian armor, looks screen accurate, hanging out in the backyard with his grandchildren, swinging on swings. And he's just sitting there in full armor. Like, the outfit looks photoshopped in. The armor looks so good. So I'm going to be talking to him about that. He specifically requested to be on the finale episode so that we can talk about the season in its entirety. He is a huge fan. He says it's his favorite TV show of all time. So I haven't talked to him since season 2 started, so I'm hoping that he still loves it, but I'm pretty sure he does. So that's next week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait. Thanks for coming on, man. Do you want to give out any plugs?
It's a pleasure. Well, I do another podcast with a buddy. It's allrightpodcast.com. We're kind of doing it when we feel like it. It's a weird time, and maybe even before it was a weird time, we were still busy. Right. But I'm at Kevin Kittridge on Twitter and Instagram, and yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. You were the toughest get.
Yeah, I got your people put out a great offer.
It's great,
my people advised me to take it.
So what happened was I wanted to do a whole new group of people this time around, and I felt bad not having you on last time because I had a group of people that I wanted to be on, and then it filled up, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll get Kevin on the second one, so I may put you at the top of. Well, Mike got the first pick, but then you did because I'm not going to do another season without Kevin. So I'm glad you're able to join me.
Well, I appreciate that, but I completely understand, especially, all your other guests have most of them anyway, have a lot of projects going on where they can, you have me on the show and you're promoting it to me. I'm the only one who you don't gain any viewers or listeners with me. So I totally get it.
Yeah, but I love it. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. And we'll probably do another All Right podcast sometime.
Yeah, maybe before the end of the year. Who knows? We got 19 days.
Oh, shit. Speaking of which, in 14 days, Wonder Woman comes out.
On HBO.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a good thing to talk about in a couple weeks.
Okay, we'll do it
maybe in the
sometime.
New year.
Maybe okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about. We started straying from this in this episode. So.
All right, that's fine. We could talk, dude. You know what we should do? We should talk about Star Trek.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about Star Trek.
All right. Thanks for joining me. I almost said, all right, let's stop doing a podcast.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, let's stop doing a podcast.
McClunky. All right.